Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Faith Marie Lyles, but to my students, you can call me Miss Faith or Miss Wave. So, the conversation that I really wanted to talk about with all of you today is ClassDojo and how it's an ethical dilemma that we are currently facing as teachers in our industry. I have worked in various early childhood education programs, which have allowed me to see a variety of approaches to child upbringings. In these programs, I've seen many different child development theories come into play, and with each one, I have seen different outcomes. There's some good, but also some bad. And a common thread with all of these programs and various age groups that I have worked with is the struggle to find a way to promote positive classroom behavior. And as I moved on from preschool and daycare days to working with school-aged children, there's a greater need for classroom management. And all of us teachers know, especially with summer coming up, it's more important than ever that we try to keep our students in line, because they really do be testing boundaries during this time, especially as the school year comes to an end. And so with that, we have seen the growth of different platforms that have been made to help with classroom management, and one of which that we will be discussing today is ClassDojo. So, ClassDojo, it's a free program created to help connect students and teachers and their families, all in one space. And this program allows teachers to have the ability to document what's happening in the classroom and share with families. And then the messaging service within ClassDojo, they also have a translation service, which offers more than 35 languages. And this can help break the communication barrier that we often see between ourselves and parents. And ClassDojo also allows students to earn dojo points based on their conduct in the classroom, which is meant to help foster positive student behavior. And behavior is rated by a number that the teacher can choose between 1 and 5. However, negative behavior can result in negative points for the student. And the score is meant to show students what they need to improve on and help track a student's progress. And ClassDojo is actively used in 95% of all K-8 schools in the US and in 180 countries. And there's a lot of appeal for ClassDojo, and for those who are in favor of the service, it stems from its ability to help with behavior management. And teachers enjoy that they can, quote unquote, add and remove points without disturbing the whole class. And if a student earns or loses a point, I could quietly tell him or her why the point was added or removed. Desco, which is a fellow teacher who has a wonderful classroom blog, talks about how they enjoy controlling behavior with a sound, along with being able to choose what types of behaviors that are displayed and what can earn or lose points. ClassDojo even provides teachers reports of statistics behind a student's points over time, which they can use during parent conferences. And teachers also enjoy the ability to contact parents and keep them up to date on all events in one app. It provides a convenience to teachers where we all know the documentation we have to do on what we're doing in the classroom, the students' behaviors, communicating with parents, events. There's so many different things that we have going on. It's convenient to have it all in one app, which I also can greatly appreciate and understand. It also allows a customizable monster icon that allows students to put their flair and help work towards a more positive classroom environment while still having fun in the process. I have personally seen ClassDojo in my own education when I was in middle school. I was in an all-girls English class, and my middle school had conducted a trial, you could say, where they had one all-girls English class and one all-boys English class, and they were going to see if having all girls and all boys in one class would create higher scores and help people stay more focused. And while I was in that class, the teacher I had, she used ClassDojo. So it's something I'm familiar with and I've seen before in my own education, but I've also seen it used by some teachers in school-age programs that I have worked with over time. And for some classrooms, this platform seems to work. However, the setup of ClassDojo motivates children through tangible rewards, which takes away from their intrinsic motivation. ClassDojo also promotes the boom of classroom surveillance, which puts children on the constant edge that may make them act unnaturally. And as a fellow teacher, I completely understand why teachers enjoy this platform. However, I do disagree with some of the practices associated with ClassDojo, such as points and brought up about controlling behavior of a sound. And by Desco, a fellow teacher that I talked about earlier, she said, when I'm meeting with a group, I turn the volume of my computer up. That way, when I add or subtract points, the class hears a sound and knows I'm watching. You see, this type of classroom surveillance can put children in a constant fight or flight mode. This creates an environment where students always feel that they're on edge. Although students, must try to be on their best behavior, the method in which it's being approached isn't of best practice. This type of classroom surveillance tactic can lead children to feeling that they're in a less nurturing and comfortable learning environment. These environments where students are aware of their constant surveillance can make them act differently, and not everyone acts to surveillance the same way. For example, it may invoke anger, embarrassment, guilt, shame, fear, but it also can evoke a sense of security and safety for the child. So how we talk about classroom surveillance and approach it can affect how it's viewed by children. With ClassDojo having a system where something as simple as a sound can cause kids to feel anxious can be detrimental to the feeling of the classroom.
As an adult, we still get scared of certain sounds, or certain sounds trigger us to in a fight or flight of certain emotions. For example, when we hear this sound in the morning, we are all put in a panic because we're like, oh my gosh, what can we do? I have things to do. So imagine being a kid at such a young age that there are certain sounds that you hear that automatically invoke these certain feelings. So imagine if you heard this in class, and it threw you to fight or flight.
It's important for a student when they walk into the class that they feel safe and they know this is an environment where they are safe and okay. And having a system where they know that they're constantly being watched, it takes away from the child's autonomy. As a child,
you're constantly put on edge, not sure of what just happened, and that you are doing something wrong because you're scared of a certain sound. That affects a child so deeply.
They can't make a mistake, and that it'll harm them. And it's important as teachers that we don't create an environment like that. We want them to feel free to learn, free to make mistakes, and learn from those mistakes. They still have the opportunity with losing points to learn from those mistakes, but it's the way that we talk about it and introduce it to the classroom that affects a child's feeling and their overall safety in our rooms. Another concern that is to be had with ClassDojo is the effects that a reward system can have on positive behavior because it can harm intrinsic motivation. So some teachers use the point system of ClassDojo as a way to create an award system for students. But receiving rewards for good behavior sounds good in theory, but tangible rewards can affect intrinsic motivation. So there was a study by John S. Carton at Duke University. Totally recommend you read up on it. It's quite fascinating. But he simply discussed how tangible rewards appear to decrease intrinsic motivation, and a significant amount of research has shown that praise increases it. So when we give tangible rewards to students for exhibiting behavior, we are decreasing their intrinsic motivation for that behavior. And intrinsic motivation is simply the desire to do an activity out of satisfaction because of a potential consequence. You do it because you want to do it. You're like, oh, I find if I do this, I'm doing it because I get satisfaction out of it. I'm not getting anything physical out of it, not a tangible reward. You're getting an intangible reward. Something that fuels the student and provides stimulation in some capacity. So we must find ways to promote positive behavior in the classroom. And in a review written by Law, which is another great article I recommend that you read, he said that when a person witnesses how positive behaviors are recognized, such as praising a classmate's good academic grades as a result of his or her hard work, the adolescent, as an observer, would imitate that positive behavior. Praise has a much stronger effect on intrinsic motivation than that of tangible rewards. And the concept of giving children points based on their behavior is a tangible reward. This type of reward isn't feeling the child or providing them with a stimulation that will help them. Now, ultimately, we want what is best for our students. And as we are teaching and helping raise the next generation, I don't think we should do away with ClassDojo. completely. I do like some elements of the platform that it provides to teachers and families. I love that ClassDojo provides the ability to communicate with families and help break down the language barrier. I also like that it's all in one place and provides a way to communicate with students and parents, while also being able to keep a record of what's happening in the classroom for documentation.
This is ClassDojo's mission statement on their website, which says every kid on earth should get an education they love. And I think ClassDojo can fulfill that, and they are doing a good job of that. I just feel that there are certain elements that need to be taken away that are preventing kids from having an education that they love.
As a teacher, these are things that I love, and I think they're important elements to keep of the program. However, I would like to do away with the point system and allowing kids to even be able to see these points or even be able to project these points for the students to see. The idea of projecting the points or using sounds as a means to control the classroom is not beneficial to the student. I feel that instead what we should do is we should be incorporating a mastery-oriented approach to praise to build up the children's intrinsic motivation. So, in simplicity, a mastery-oriented approach is you are teaching the child to acknowledge their efforts and they show that their effective strategies are what contributed to their success. The method develops their confidence in what they do while allowing to increase their intrinsic motivation. So using this in the classroom would simply sound as saying, hey, I see that you tried really hard on that one, or if you try harder, you can do it. These phrases paired with the documentation done in ClassDojo can show a student where they have grown, and you can show them that their efforts found success. And this also teaches the child that it isn't based on skill that created success, but it was their efforts. Because we all have different skill levels and things that we're good at. But we all are able to put in effort. We can't change our skill levels for certain things. We can grow them over time. But we have a base level skill. But our effort is something that we have control of and we could put into. And that is what affects if we succeed at something or if we fail. So this builds confidence while promoting positive behavior. So to use this to help with classroom management, a mastery-oriented approach to praise can motivate students to want to continue their positive behavior, and then the other kids will follow in suit. Now, just because I say that we should use more praise in the classroom doesn't mean I'm saying that you need to be like, oh, good job for this, or you're doing so great. That is a different type of praise. And that kind of praise can lead to self-helplessness later on, which is a whole different topic that we can have for another day. But this mastery-oriented approach builds a child's confidence and makes them want to do better, to learn more. Because when you acknowledge the effort that a child is putting into something, instead of acknowledging the behavior, acknowledge the effort and what you are seeing them do, because that is what plays a big role in classroom behavior and management. And it's very important, especially as the school year comes to an end and we wrap up for the summer. We as teachers need to start preparing for our next school year. And with our next school year coming around, it's important that we are aware of this. We are aware of ClassDojo and what it has to offer us, and also what not good things it has to offer us. I think the skeleton of ClassDojo has great potential. It is how we take these elements and use them in our classroom that plays a big role. So, what I would say that we do to face this ethical dilemma we face is that ClassDojo, in terms of communication with parents, keeping parents up to date on things and documenting things, fantastic. I think we should do that. But the point system is something I feel we should do away with and focus more on the student as an individual than as a statistic in the classroom. And putting points on behaviors is not the right way to approach it. Every child is unique. Every child is different. They all have their own little quirks, and not all of them approach things the same way, and that comes from their unique backgrounds that they come with. And as a teacher, we need to be aware of their background and who they are and what may be a trigger for them that might cause them to act this way in the classroom, which may lead to negative behaviors. And keeping track and documenting those things that are happening, we can find the common thing that is happening that leads to these triggers, which can help with our classroom management. So it's important that we focus this on the student as an individual. Because if it were us, as kids again, sitting in a classroom, We don't want to be a statistic. We don't want to be a point that we just get. We want to be seen and loved and heard and understood. So, thank you so much for watching my TED Talk today. And I hope this enlightened you more in ClassDojo and opened your eyes more to the ethical dilemmas that we face with classroom surveillance and point systems and tangible reward systems that we create for our students and the effects it has on the child. Thank you so much and have a wonderful night.